This is Tony with Scared City Things. We do stuff. All about. Hi, I'm Tony with Scared City Productions. This episode we're going to show you how to paint one of our candy apple skulls. First, you'll need a skull, some red spray paint. We like enamel, gloss, Rust-Oleum, works pretty well. Some Elmer's glue, a dowel rod, a small paintbrush, a knife, and Pale Night Permablood. This stuff's really good. Alright, well first off, what we're going to do is we are going to make the hole for the dowel rod. And what you want to do is you want to get it about center with the skull and go in about an inch, inch and a half straight down. And when you can't push it in anymore, that's pretty much your sweet spot. Alright, that'll work. Now what we're going to do is we got a good end, and then we got the cut end. We pre-cut these beforehand, but just regular old dowel rod, you can get them in any hobby shop. We'll take that the rough end, because it's going to adhere to the foam and the glue that I have not put in yet, but I will do that now. See, even us professionals screw up every now and again. What you want to do is put it in the hole a little bit and squeeze it until a little bit comes out of the top. That way you know it's in there. And then you take your dowel rod, shove it in. You got to get it in there a little hard because it does not want to go. This 10-pound prop foam, it's nice and tight. You just rub the excess off. Rub it around in a circle, because that way it'll actually seal in that stick to the foam itself. Maybe dab it off a little bit, that way it's nice and dry, because we're going to spray paint next. Alright. Get that out of the way. Like I said, just regular Rust-Oleum spray paint works really well, gives it a nice sheen, a good color. We're going to go with that. You ain't got to go heavy with this at all either. Make sure you get all your little crevices, eyeballs, teeth, all that good stuff. And if it ain't perfect, it don't matter. It's when you put the blood on here in a little bit, it's going to cover whatever you miss. Not to mention it gives it a cool little look if it's not fully covered everywhere. Alright. And what we're going to do is we're going to let that sit for just a moment, and when we come back, blood time. Alright, we're back, and it seems to be pretty dry at this point. And what we're going to do is we're going to add some blood to it. Let's see. Get the lid off. Now what we're using is Pale Night Permablood. Oh yeah. This stuff's actually really good, especially if you're working with foam. It adheres very well. Best thing about it, it doesn't come off. There's some other stuff out there that kind of comes off after a few usages. But what we're going to do is with these little guys, you want to get this out of the way, make it a little better. You want to try and go in at the bottom with it. That way you work your way up. By the time you go to sit this guy down, it'll be a little bit better to sit down and not stick to a lot of stuff. Best thing about this stuff right here is when it dries, it's actually going to look wet. It's going to look real. And it always has the consistency of wet. Alright, especially with any kind of skull that you're working with. You want to make sure you get in there with the teeth, the jawline, especially your nose and your eyes. Alright, we like to go a little crazy in the nose and eyes region just because it gives it a real darker sense. It takes a little longer to dry because there's a little bit more in it, but you get a way better outcome later on. And if you leave a little too much here and there, it just adds to the look. And one thing you want to make sure that you do with this is when you are putting it on, go back over your brush strokes a few times. That way you actually get the look of brush strokes out of it. Because like I've said before, we want to make them look as real as possible. Make sure you pay attention to the back of your skull. I have noticed with a lot of these that I've seen out there, a lot of people that paint them, they get a little carried away with the front, making the front, the eyes, the nose, the teeth, all the jaw lines, making them look really good. Sometimes they forget to do the back of it. Or it's not as heavily painted as the rest of it is. Alright. We're just about done with this little guy. What we're going to do is we're going to give that a little time. Just a little time to dry. And we're going to come back and add the big blood marks so it looks like there's a lot of blood coming out of it when you stab it in the head. Back in just a moment. Alright, we're back. We are going to add the bloody finger marks on this. Because you gotta have bloody finger marks, you know what I mean? But you want to get a little bit of this perma blood on your finger. Just kind of dab it around. Make sure that some of your wood is showing. Go. You can use gloves, you cannot use gloves. Our suggestion would be to use gloves because the best thing about this stuff is when it's on, it's pretty much permanent and it won't come off easily. Get that stuff all around, get little thick spots here and there. Make it nasty. It's gotta be nasty. Got a little bit of the wood showing, that's good. Make sure you get that tip up there too. There we go. Alright. That way you get a little bit of the wood still showing. You got like somebody just had a handful of blood and grabbed a hold of it. Now at this point you can be done with it, but we always like to take it a little step further. We like to add some drips of blood coming out of the skull because it just gives it a little bit more of a creepier look to it. We're going to let that handle dry and that'll take about 10 minutes or so and we'll be back to drip the blood. Stay tuned. Alright, and we're back. And this seems to be fairly dry now. It's actually darkening up pretty good, so it's looking good. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add some of this perma blood to it, make some drips, so it's got a really nasty look, like it got punctured into the head pretty good. What we're using is the perma blood again, and we have a little vial of it. We already did this pre-show. But yeah, you can use pretty much anything. You can use a syringe, you can pour it on there. Stuff's pretty thick, but you kind of want something you can control a little easier. But we like to start off pretty much with the front. Start right there at the base of the dowel rod. And just easily let it run off. Stop probably about 1/4 of an inch. about 1/4 of an inch from the bottom, because it's going to continue to run itself. And it doesn't matter if you move it around while you're pouring it, it's not really going to take off from you. You want to do at least, I'd say probably about 5, maybe 6 on it. You don't have to do them perfectly aligned with the other one. Actually, it's kind of better if you don't. That way it gives it more of a natural look to it. And you don't have to make them all the way down. All the way down to the end. And it's your project, you do it the way you want to do it, however it looks cool to you. It just looks cool to us. Like that. All the way down to the end. And when that actually dries, that's going to darken up. It still looks a little bit red, a little bit light right now, but it will darken up. It will look a lot better, and it's going to keep that nice glossy, bloody look to it the whole time. And that's the best part about this stuff, is it gives you that look throughout. No matter whether you're touching it, messing with it, playing with it, throwing it at somebody, it stays that way. And this little dude will dry out probably in about 10 or 15 minutes. Get the little spots off there. But there you have it. That is our candy apple skull. I appreciate very much y'all tuning in and checking us out. Keep in touch with us. We got a lot more cool things coming. And y'all have a good day.
Thanks for tuning in to Scared City Productions on YouTube. For more videos, subscribe to our channel.